Peace, 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 peace. How's everybody doing? Let me get this thing here straight. Hope everybody's doing good. Yours truly, Ivory. IvorysSoulsJourney Tarot. How's everybody doing? Stop by here. Show some thanks. Gratitude towards the soul tribe. Appreciate everybody. Maybe a couple minutes here. A couple minutes here. A couple minutes here, soul tribe. Let me know where you're checking in from. Give y'all a couple minutes. Give y'all a couple minutes. Peace and blessings. Let me know where you're checking in from. Be nice. What's going on? Dallas in the building. What's going on? C to David. Are you doing okay? That's good. That's good. That's good. Give y'all a couple more minutes. See who all wants to come in. Join in with us. How's the D over there? See the David. How's Dallas? My first Texas stomping ground when I moved here in 07. Yep. That was my first stomping ground. It's good, good. Yeah, it's getting hotter. I think we up to about 83 so far for the day here in East Texas. So we gonna see what's going on. Give y'all a couple of more minutes to get gather in here, as they say. Appreciate you stopping by. Don't forget to come back right after this video. I'll be doing a channel dream message. A channel dream message, and I haven't done one in a few months, but very important. So many of them. I guess you can say my dream log is just really, really full. Not full, but it's just full of dreams. Full of information that can help people. How about that? Full of information that can bring some clarity, if you will, by way of the dream state. So we'll see what's going on here. Welcome back, everybody. I'm yours truly, Ivory, IvorysSoulsJourney and Tarot. First and foremost, let's go get right into it. And I shall, it's just my way of showing gratitude towards those who have sent positive energies, thoughts, prayers, well wishes, and things of that nature towards Pops. Really appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. We'll give it a couple of more minutes here. And so that way, when I share some information with y'all, I can share it once. I may share it again towards the end, but this will be not a long video at all. Just pretty much a update for those that have been sending out their prayers and their thoughts, well wishes, and positive energy towards my Pops here in East Texas as he is recovering. And then I'll bring y'all some information. I'll share with y'all some information. That way there's no speculation. And we'll kind of go from there. So I do appreciate everybody stopping by. How's everybody doing? What's the day? I think it's Thursday. How's everybody doing on this here Thursday afternoon? Well, I was at the hospital earlier, and we're going to give y'all a little update. But let me say this here to the Soul Tribe. You know, hey, Kiki, let me say this to the Soul Tribe. There comes a time that all of us, our spiritual manifestations or our spiritual faith, what you believe in, it'll always be tested, but it's tested for good reasons. Sometimes we are tested to see where we are spiritually. We are tested for gratitude. We are tested for preparedness. And we are tested for purpose. And when you are tested for these things, you are just in alignment for greatness, if you will, on a spiritual spectrum. And I say that to say this. Never in my wildest years that I would thought that I would be in such a situation. But nevertheless, Spirit had already prepared me for all of my task, spiritual task, if you will, lessons. And I'm always up for the challenge. And I say this to say that I said that to say this. On Super Bowl Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm not mistaken. On Super Bowl Sunday, for those who have, followed the channel, if you will, remember that Pops was missing for a little while. And he was missing for a little while. And when the police officer brought him back home, it was so funny. I still can see his face. So I kind of backed towards the police officer and told him to let down the back passenger window where my dad was. So when the officer let the window down, the officer was laughing. And Dad was in the back seat, but he was sitting sideways because he's tall, with his legs going a long way. And so when he pulled up, and I told the officer that was standing there with me, let him know to let the back passenger window down. So he let the back passenger window down, 11:11, as I say this. He let the passenger window down. So I walked up to the passenger window at the back. I said, "They got you now," because my pops has so many sayings. And one of his favorite sayings is, "My record is as good as the day I was born." And so he loved to tell me the story about one time when he was younger and the police officer pulled him over. And they pulled him over and asked him for his ID, the whole normal. And so when they ran a check on him, he said that the police officer came back to the police officer come back to my dad's car and said, "Mr. Boyd, what are you doing, Mr. Boyd? You trying to put us out of business?" My dad said, "No, I ain't trying to put y'all out of business." He said, "What did I do?" He said, "Man, look, you ain't got no record. You ain't got nothing, no ticket, no, you ain't got nothing. So Daddy said, "Good." He said, "Because my record is good as the day I was born." And he been using that line for probably decades now, right? Anyway, so I walks up to the passenger window and I tell Dad, I was like, Your record ain't good as the day of the born. They got you this time, didn't it? He couldn't do nothing but laugh. The police officer was laughing. There was two more officers standing beside me. We are laughing. So the police officer that was driving Dad, when he let the window down, Dad's window down, he also let his window down on the driver's side on the front, facing the house, right? So he's laughing. I'm wondering what he's laughing about. I'm saying, so I asked the officer, I was like, officer, I was like, man, he got you laughing? He says, man, I don't even want to bring him home right now. I want to ride around with him. I said, no. I said, Dad, you want to ride around with the police car? He said, hold on. He opened up his door. He said, man, I'm getting out of here. I want to ride around in the back of the police car. Point being, folks, that was Super Bowl Sunday. 2 weeks later, I began to notice some behavioral changes or behavior patterns that was not normal per dealing with Dad on a daily basis, just being around him on a daily basis. So then I noticed that he wasn't as talkative. He was not yelling, screaming, talking shit to the cowboys and Indians on TV because that's all he watches, Westerns. So he wasn't yelling and screaming. So I bring him his food one day and one morning. And so I brought him his food and said, Pops, okay, here your food, man. You ready to eat? He said, yeah. And when I heard his voice, I was like, what's wrong with your voice? He said, nothing. But I know my pop's voice. So I'm knowing that there's something wrong with his voice. Why is his voice like that? So that's all I said to myself. All right there, man. I'll be back in here in a minute to get your plate. So I go back in there a couple of hours later to get his plate to wash, of which the food that's on his plate is his favorites. I don't fix him nothing but his favorites, right? So he hadn't hardly eaten nothing. And Pops throw down. I'm serious, y'all. The little slim dude, the man throw down. So I'm like, man, you ain't eating, you ain't hungry, you ain't ate nothing. He said, I'm really not that hungry. I was like, all right, then, well, I'll put it on top of the stove and cover it up, and then I'll just reheat it for you a couple of hours, see if you want it. He said, okay. So I go back in there around lunchtime, and he's laid down in his bed, sleep. Pops ain't never sleep around that time of the day because Wells Fargo comes on. If you know anything about Westerns, I don't watch, but if you know anything about Western, just me knowing his schedule, Wells Fargo comes on at Tales of Wells Fargo. And it comes on around 12 noon every day. He don't miss Tales of Wells Fargo. Right after Wells Fargo, Gunsmoke comes on. He's not going to miss Gunsmoke. So I didn't bother him. I just let him sleep. I go back in there in that evening, afternoon, he's still asleep. So by this time I go and I touch him on the shoulders, Pops. He wake up, hey, yeah. I said, man, you ain't eating hardly nothing today and you knocked out sleep. You done missed your Wells Fargo, you done missed your movies. I mean, what's going on? So he was like, oh, nothing much, man. Just trying to give me a little shut eye, as he say. I was like, oh, okay, then. I said, well, your eyes been shutting down for a few hours. I said, I'm gonna leave you alone and let you go and get you some more shut eye. Long story short, folks, Now, this is about 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. So he normally peep his head out the front door to check the temperature outside. If it's cold, he ain't gonna go outside if it's cold. If it's warm, he'll say, "Oh man, beautiful day. I'm gonna go and sit out on the porch for a minute." So it was warm one particular day, and he walked and opened up the door, and he looked outside, and he looked next door to see if my neighbor Dave's truck was at home. Um, and he saw Dave's truck. So he said, "I'm finna go over here and sit with Dave." My neighbor loves to hear dad crack jokes, and as my dad say, swap, spit, and talk shit. Um, White guy, good guy, right? So, so he's over there swapping spit and talking shit with Dave. I'm over here doing my thing, working on stuff, right? So when he comes back in, that evening, I asked him, did he want anything to eat? He said no. Long story short, folks, from that day forward, Dad began to just change. His body began to, I'm just paying attention, he takes care of himself. Every morning he gets up, he prides himself in cleaning up his room, making up his bed, and going in the bathroom, doing his little thing or what have you. That's what he loves to do. He hadn't been doing it for the past couple of days. So I was like, something wrong. So I was like, "Pops, you feeling all right?" Yeah, I feel good. I feel good. You ain't hurting nothing. You ain't feeling bad. I mean, you gotta let me know something now. Like you told me, closed mouth ain't gonna get fed. You ain't gonna get shit but a sloppy bed. That's his little line. Closed mouth ain't gonna get fed. You ain't gonna get shit but a sloppy bed. Anyway, then one day, this past weekend, on Wednesdays and Sundays is when I make sure, how elderly people can, they get like children in the sense that you have to kind of stay on them. So I noticed that last Wednesday, he didn't, I told him to go and take a shower. When I knocked on his door and said, "All right, Pops, today Wednesday, man, you gonna get ready to take a shower." He was like, yeah. I'm gonna take my shower. Like that. And I said, okay. He laid back down. He didn't go take his shower. So me, I'm like, okay, old guy, I ain't gonna bother. I ain't gonna too much rush me. It ain't like he running all over the place, getting dirty, He do his little military bath, every morning. However, some told me to go back in there, and I went back in there. I said, "Man, you've been sleeping a lot and you ain't been hardly eating." He was sitting in his lazy boy chair rocking. "You've been sleeping a lot and you ain't been eating, man, and you're losing weight." I said, "Now you got me worried, man. There's something else wrong, man. If you ain't gonna tell me now, I'm telling you that you need to let me know." He said, "Sometimes it's kind of hard for me to pee." I said, "Well, is it when you say it's hard for you to urine, does it hurt, or is it more like it's just hard for you to urine?" It didn't dawn on me right away. But then after that conversation, I came back and I started meditating and I started thinking. So something said, "Go and fix him some soup and some crackers and see if he'll eat that." So I make some soup and some crackers and go in there and give it to him. He didn't eat it. Next day, Thursday, he stayed in bed all day. He didn't even get up. Friday, same thing. Saturday, I not forced him, but I was just like, Dad, man, I mean, what's going on, man? I mean, man, you ain't doing nothing but sleeping and you're not eating, you're not doing anything. I mean, man, I mean, what, you giving up? I mean, you don't want to, you giving up on life? You don't want to watch your Westerns, 2020, as I say, this all the way across. Now check this here out, y'all. So Sunday, he missed his bathing. He missed taking his shower on Wednesday. So Sunday, I was like, all right, man, we got to get you straight today. Today, your day. Today's Sunday. That's when I groom him up, shave him. But he hadn't been wanting the Sunday prior to that. He asked me, could I cut his hair and shave him up next week? And I says, okay, I'll do it Wednesday. Well, Wednesday, he was just withdrawn. So I called up to the ER clinic, just kind of just explaining it to them. And they was like, we're open to 9 o'clock. You're free to, you're more than welcome to bring him in. So I was going to take him to the ER clinic. Then something said, this is Saturday, something said, call your friend and see if you can get your friend to take him up there, take y'all up there. Then that way you ain't got to drive like that. And I said, okay. So I called my tribe brother up. I told him, Curtis, I said, man, look, man, I'm thinking about taking Dad to the emergency room. He just been acting real strange, man. He won't hardly eat, anything like that. And so he was like, all right, then, when you want to go? I said, I'll call you back when I'm ready. Now, that was Saturday afternoon. So Saturday afternoon, Curtis, about 6 or 7 o'clock, texted me and said, and asked me, that I still need him to come by. Well, I was asleep then. So when I woke up and I texted him back and then I called him, I said, well, it's kind of chilly out there today. I said, so I don't want to get him up and then, get him out in the cold. However, Sunday. So when I go in here Sunday to get him, started for his, his day, he hadn't cleaned his room up now in a whole week. It's not dirty, he just hadn't did nothing, So Sunday is the day I do my laundry and all of that. So as I'm gathering my stuff together to do the laundry, I go in there and go in his room and says, all right, man, look, I'm finna get ready to do the laundry. So he knows when I get ready to do the laundry, give me your clothes. I go and wash all his clothes, and he take his shower and he gets set, so on and so forth. He didn't want to do that. So I said, come on, man, you got to get up, man. You got to get out of bed. Come on. If you don't want to take no shower, you still got to get out of bed. I said, it's a nicer day outside today. You got to get out of this bed. You got to get out of this room, man. You normally go next door, holler, mess with Dave. You ain't seen Dave all week. He ain't seen you all week. He ain't seen you since last weekend. So, Pops, man, I don't feel like going nowhere. I don't feel good. I said, well, come on, get up and take a shower. My dad could not even get out of the bed. He couldn't even get out of the bed. So I got him up, helped him get out of the bed. I'm like, dog, man, you constantly losing this weight, man. I'm taking you to the emergency room. I says, but before we go to the emergency room, you got to take a shower. At that moment, Spirit says, I don't want you to give him a shower. I want you to give him a spiritual bath. So I proceeded to get the things together for the spiritual bath, the sea salt and the whole 9 yards. And so as I'm bathing him, I saw a little blood. So I'm like, Dad, where the blood come from? You cut yourself? He didn't even say nothing. He didn't even respond. And it's like, I don't know. It was like, I don't even know how to explain it, Soul Tribe. I don't even know how to explain it other than I know something was wrong. So I had him to stand up. I'm giving him, I'm bathing him now. He's standing, he's sitting in a chair in the middle of the bathtub. So I'm giving Dad his bathing for the first time in my life. I'm giving a grown human being, bathing a grown human being. Just so happened to be Pops. So something's wrong here. So as I began to send positive thoughts into the universe, to spirit, just speaking, healing over his body and everything while I'm giving him his spiritual bath, the sea salt, the whole 9 yards, right? Not knowing that this was going to be a day, the first new day of the year, New Year's Day, March the 20th. Was it March the 20th? No. Sunday, whatever Sunday was. I think I was getting ready to do the pre-New Year's Day Nrgy, right? So I get him up, get him out of the bathtub. He drying him off. He was just weak. I can tell he had lost weight. I'm concerned. Saw the blood. So I says, okay, so I get him into his wheelchair that he never ever used. His doctor gave it to him for a gift so that when we go to the park, because we like going to the park. And so I get him and put him in his wheelchair. I says, okay, I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to cook this soup and crackers for you and I'm going to feed it to you. So I'm in the kitchen giving him his soup. Fixing his soup and his crackers. And I'm listening to my meditation music that I normally listen to. Had it on the surround sound in the house and just feeling good about myself. All of a sudden I heard something say, he was throwing up. So I dropped what I was doing, go to his bedroom, and he's throwing up, and I'm looking at blood. Spirit said, calm down. This is what I want you to do. Spirit told me exactly what to do. When I did what Spirit told me to do, Spirit said, now I want you to go in there and clean yourself up. And I want you to get these items and put it in your book bag and then call 911. I did it just like that. When I called, right before I called the ambulance, 911, I go back to his room to get his stuff ready to go to the hospital. And I noticed this is the honest truth. And while I'm getting his stuff ready, and so on and so forth, and making up his bed, he's sitting in his wheelchair. He's weak. He's not moving. He's not talking. He's alert. He's not in no pain. So as I'm straightening up his room, I noticed two separate little small plastic bags. And in these plastic bags, they usually be I got a little hook like on a wall in the bathroom, and he gets his Depends and he takes his old Depends and put them in this bag and tie the bag up. And then I got Dad's wastebasket. I got it wrote on there. And so he throws them in there. But I noticed two of them was in his room tied up. So he had went to the restroom, used the restroom, but took his Depends off and put on some more Depends, And So I got it. Some said, look in the bag. So I looked in the bag, and the two depends he had threw them and hid them as if he didn't want me to see them. So I took the bags, and I opened them up, and I noticed that there was blood in both of them. So at that point, I dropped everything. I just went ahead and called 911. So when I called 911, the fire department is down the street from the house. So they was here in about 5 minutes or less. So they come in, we took him. So we got him in the ambulance. And so the paramedic was talking to him in the back, and he wasn't saying anything. And so they asked me, does he speak? Had he been talking? And I said, well, not recently that much. Spirit said, get out and go out to the back. And the guy opened up the back doors for me. Spirit said, rub his ankle, his left ankle, with your left hand. So I rubbed his left ankle, with my left hand. Everything the Spirit told me to put in the bag, I had in the bag. I had it in my lap. We headed to the hospital. We get to the hospital. Long story short, again, folks, let me tell y'all something. It is so beautiful to be intuitively connected with Spirit, Source, God, Universe, whatever you want to call, whatever you believe in. At the emergency room, they taking his vitals. And so they took his vitals. His heart rate was high. But his blood pressure was normal. Weird. So the nurse was like, his heart rate's kind of high, but his blood pressure and everything is fine. So we'll have somebody there's going to be a lab tech to come back in, start doing the blood work. So they come back in there a few minutes later, and they started drawing his blood. He's laying there, eyes wide open, looking at me. I'm talking back and forth with him, telling him what's going on. So he's shocked that he's at the hospital looking at looking at this person taking blood from him. He didn't scratch, didn't nothing, lady just stuck him in. So about an hour and a half later, there was a nurse and two other people, the same lady from the lab, and then I guess her supervisor or whatever. They all three come back in there. And they said, so the nurse was like, can you tell me what's going on with your dad? So I explained to her what was going on, the reason why I was there, saw blood in his stool, he threw up, and I saw blood, he threw up. She says, well, the lab from his blood work from his lab has got me concerned. She says, but before I say anything, I'll go back and we're going to draw some more blood, and we're going to run a couple of more tests that we ran that I'm concerned about. We'll run these tests again. I said, okay. She didn't seem panicking, but the way she was looking at Dad was weird. I'm very observant. And so I'm like, oh boy, what's going on? They come back about 2 hours later. Now it's about 3:00 in the morning. So when they come back about 3:00 in the morning, there's 2 doctors, about 4 or 5 nurses. There's other staff people. And it's about 10 people in the little room, in the emergency room, the little holding room. I'm like, what's going on? So then a doctor and the nurse, the head nurse of ER, they had me to come outside. I'm like, oh, man. Mr. Ivory, can we speak to you outside? Yeah. So I'm saying to myself, all right. So Spirit said, don't worry. You don't worry like that. So I'm like, okay. So I get outside, and while the doctor's talking to me, that same nurse, she's got her eye stuck and glued like on my dad. So I'm listening to him, and out of my peripheral vision, I'm looking at the lady, the nurse, staring at dad. Weird. So the doctor was explaining to me we're concerned about his labs for his liver and his kidneys. And so then the nurse, she spoke up. She says, what's really troubling me, Mr. Ivory, is these lab results that we got is the lab results that is in comparison to an autopsy report. I said, autopsy report. She says, yes. She says, I've been a nurse now 22 years. And the doctor said, I've been a medical doctor 40 years. What's shocking to us is they says, now, people always ask us, just be honest, be truthful, just tell me what, don't sugarcoat shit, He didn't say shit, but don't. He says, so I'm going to give it to you straight. Your dad, he shouldn't be here. I'm like, what do you mean my dad shouldn't be here? These are autopsy reports. His liver and his kidneys, they're gone. They're not even operating. They're serving him no purpose at this point. And we're really concerned. I know what they wanted to say, but it's almost like they just didn't say it, other than these are autopsy report. So then the nurse, she comes back and she says, I just feel like I'm looking at somebody that's alive, that's medically gone. I ain't never seen this before. Let me say this here to y'all, folks. My dad has pneumonia in both lungs. His liver that night shattered. His kidneys shattered. His prostate, huge. And his prostate was so large that it pressed up against his bladder and it bagged up. And from his liver, it started backing up through his liver, his kidneys, to the point everything his organs was just shutting down. Y'all bear with me for a second. So he's A, double pneumonia in both lungs. B, kidneys. The blood work from the kidneys was autopsy. His liver, blood work, autopsy. His prostate, 3 times the normal size. And his colon, they said, shot. His bladder, they had to drain a whole liter of urine. Right? So they they take him out of the ER. Before they take him out, they wanted to drain his bladder. It was so swollen, so large, full rather, scratched. And the first nurse, she couldn't get it to drain. Then, family, listen to me real, real good. I've never seen nothing like this in my life. While he's in that bed, in that emergency room, and I can say this and hopefully y'all can stomach it, he had a bowel movement, but he had on a depend. And so while they was getting ready to hook the needle up to drain his bladder, they wanted to take off all of his clothes. When they took off that depend, it was full of blood. By that time, I don't know what a cold blue is or whatever codes they was calling out. Next thing you know, everybody's in there again. They rush him out and take him up to ICU. All right, he was in ICU. All of Monday. And Tuesday, they took him back from ICU to PCU, Progressive Care Unit. They wanted to monitor him and run all these tests. So while they got him in Progressive Unit, they running these tests, and I had to leave. And then I came, and while I was gone, they called me and they started asking me medical history questions on my dad. This was Monday. Well, I did not know pretty much nothing about Dad's medical history other than when I've taken him to the clinic since he's been with me. However, to the doctor when he's been with me. Listen, folks, 5 of his organs is shut down. Tuesday, they take him back from Progressive Care back up to ICU. And when they get him back up at ICU, I'm there. My dad, folks, listen, the whole ordeal, he's alert. But this time around, all of the tests and the blood work and all of this, I mean, they was doing some wonderful staff of doctors. I have to honestly say that. And wonderful doctor, brother from Africa, from, I think he says from, Rob says from Kenya. I can tell talent. This brother knows his shit. So he called me Tuesday evening and he says, now, I'm glad I can talk to you like I talk to you. You seem like you good guy. You care for your dad. That's good. Then he says, but your daddy has some very serious issues right now. So we're going to need you to sign some consent papers. And I says, consent for what? He says, your dad is, he says, right now, preliminary tests, we're waiting on the results to come back, but your dad could have prostate and colon cancer full blown. So I'm like, man, wow. Spirit says, smile. So I smiled and I looked at the doctor and I says, well, he's in the hands of the creator now, huh? He's in the hands of God, huh? He says, yeah, absolutely. He says, but yeah, he says it's very serious. So Spirit says, okay. So I got my duffel bag, my book bag, and the item that Spirit told me to put in the bag. So I waited for everybody to leave from out of the room. And I did what I had to do. All being spiritually guided. Clarity is just so clear. It's like I'm talking to y'all. I get up, folks. I go back up to the hospital. Did what I had to do, what I was told to do. Now, what's the date? Thursday. So yesterday, his second day in ICU, they telling me all these things that they got to do. I had to sign consent papers for quite a few things, but the one thing that I did not sign for was the chemo. Because Dad told me two things. He says, look, boy, if you ever got to put me in a nursing home, just take me to the morgue, take me to the cemetery. I said, what do you mean, Dad? If I ever got to take it to the nursing home, just go and take it to the cemetery. He said, because everybody that go to the nursing home, they leave from there and they go to the morgue. So just take me on to the cemetery. He said, and if I ever have to take chemo, just go ahead and take me to the morgue. He says, no, I'm not. He said, because everybody I know that got on chemo, they ain't living no more. I said, all right. And it hit me right then and there when I was getting ready to sign that consent. I says, okay, I'm not going to do it. So the doctor says, well, this might be, his last result. I mean, I'm telling you, Mr. Ivory, your dad has 4 major organs inoperable right now. 4. But we got to do what we got to do. I says, okay, give me a day. Let me talk to my sister. So the beauty is, that was yesterday, Wednesday. He's in ICU. I left the hospital yesterday evening, and Dad was in ICU. So I go back up there this morning. He's still in ICU. So they getting ready to do a spinal tap, what they call an epidermal or something like that. But they doing it right there in his room. So Spirit says, I want you to go. I got some things I want you to take care of today. So I left the hospital this morning. Listen to me good, y'all. So I left the hospital this morning about 9:30, 10 o'clock. When I left the hospital, I noticed that Dad, when I was speaking to him on the way out, I was like, Dad, I'm finna get ready to go take care of something, man. You gonna hold it down for me? He looked up at me. He laughed. He smiled. Yeah, I got you. I got you. I was like, look at Spirit. He hadn't said nothing since Sunday. So I says, okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I says, all right, then, well, just call me, young buck, if you need me. That's how we communicate. He says, okay. Keep in mind now, he has 4 organs inoperable. Double pneumonia in both lungs. kidneys shot, liver shot, prostate huge, infected, cancerous. Y'all. This is about 10 o'clock. I got a call. Listen to me. He was in ICU when I left this morning. I got a call about 4 o'clock. And the nurse, Frank, white guy that I've been communicating with another nurse. That's a black guy. And Frank called me about 4 o'clock. And I can tell in his voice it was different than when we was conversating, when we be at the hospital, or when I talked to him on the phone, periodically, since he's been caring for Dad there. And he says, okay, Mr. Ivory, how you doing? I says, I'm doing fine. He says, well, we got some big changes. But his voice didn't sound down. He was like, well, we got some big changes. And I was like, what? He says, all I can say is we're moving your dad from ICU to a regular room, not back down to PCU, progressive care. We're moving him to a regular room. So I says, so what happened? He says, his urine is clear. Listen to me. They say his urine is clear. He's talking. He's smiling. He's laughing. I said, y'all better be careful now. He's going to be cracking jokes. They said, we can't wait. I said, are you serious? He says, Mr. Ivory, your daddy gave me the room number. He says, your dad is in room so-and-so. I said, in progressive care. He says, no, Mr. Ivory, listen, your dad is in a regular room. So I says, okay, I'll be up there later on. They says, well, he's resting now. I says, okay, I'll let him rest. I says, so what is the normal visitation hours for just a regular room? He said, you come and go anytime you want. I said, so how did the spinal tap, how did the epidural go? He says, it went great. I says, is he in pain? He said, he's not in pain. He says, but our concern now is what do we do, because he's got double pneumonia. So they got him on antibiotics, IV, right? Spirit says, okay, when you go back up there, I want you to take the bag back. But now I want you to add this to the bag and take this away from the bag. So I did that. So I got my bag ready. I call this my healing bag. My healing water and, all of that stuff. What else I got in here? I got my candles, right? I'm not going to show y'all everything. I call this my sacred jar, right? So what else do I have? I have my, I ain't going to show you everything. What else do I have? Oh, yeah. And I have a couple of other things that was sent from New York. Let me say this here. I ain't never seen nothing like this here in my life. And I said, I know Soul Tribe has been sending some strong positive energy. They said this man is raising up, sitting up in the bed. I can't wait till I get back up there. Waiting, sitting up in the bed, smiling, laughing. And guess what, y'all? He said he was hungry. Let me tell y'all something. This dude, he has a life number 9. And Spirit told me it ain't his time. 40-40 as I say this. I had to sign hospice papers. I had to sign so many papers, y'all, that, I mean, of course, I'm reading over everything. I'm not the type where people come in and they say, okay, well, this is for this here, right here, this here, sign right here, date right here. This is for this here. No. Go on back to your office, do whatever you got to do, because I got to read this shit. Folks, let me tell y'all something. Not just miracles. Let me put it to you like this. On Sunday, these same people thought that they was going to have to cart my dad out, get him ready for the coroner. Spirit said, when you get back home that night, not that night, Monday night, because Sunday I didn't leave, and Monday I didn't. Yeah, Monday I stayed until Monday night. So from the time that I got him there, Sunday night until Monday night, I was there. And I was there Tuesday. So I didn't leave until Tuesday afternoon. So I come back home. And when I come back home and I did the video, and I told y'all, it ain't over yet. It is not over yet. This man is 85 years old. 4 failed major organs. I don't know what's going on other than this. I know that there is a such thing that's called healing energy. A lot of y'all are healers. It's in your hands. It's in your hands. Some of y'all know this and some of y'all don't. But I can tell you this thing. I can tell you this much. There's another video I want to come back and do. Basically, that's entitled, it's a dream channel message. Leaving the scene. Who was leaving the scene in that dream? And why was they coming towards you or me? Somebody was leaving the scene in a dream. And when I asked Spirit who was leaving the scene, Spirit told me who was leaving the scene. So I'm going to share that in the video. This is a channel message, dream message for the soul tribe. Somebody's leaving the scene. I saw them in the dream. I know who they are. I will also come back and do Pluto in Aquarius because this is the energy that I was speaking of, 3/23/23. So here we go. And that Pluto in Pluto in Aquarius, it's humanitarian. Now, Pluto's going to bounce around back and forth for a little bit. Back and forth to Capricorn. Now, Now, Pluto do not like to be in Capricorn or that Saturn energy. Pluto comes to say, okay, you need to work on you. We need to reveal some things. There's some dark sides to you. There's some things that you need to work on. So we're going to make these things known to you what it is. And people, we know what it is. That shadow side, that dark side, right? The underground. But with this Aquarius energy, that's the awakener. But the great awakener also brings about what? Drama. Because you find something out that's dark, hidden, deep, mysterious. And once you find out through this great awakening of Uranus energy, it can bring about drama. Because with Pluto and Capricorn, the last time, listen, Pluto's been in Capricorn. I'm not going to go too far into it, but Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008. Now, listen to me good, y'all. It's going to go. Now, we got Pluto in Aquarius until June. Then after June 11th, it's going to go right back into Capricorn. And then it's going to go right back into Aquarius around January the 20th, 2024. Then it's going to go right back out of Capricorn, out of Aquarius back into Capricorn. And it'll be there until September. Then it goes back into Uranus. So we're going to have a presidential election next year in 2024 with Pluto being in Capricorn. That's why I did the video, Injustices. Oh, yeah. A lot of karma. I told y'all my 2024 predictions. Injustices and scandals. It's so much I can tell y'all about this here, but now the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was 1778 until 1798. And like I shared with y'all, y'all know 1778, that's 2 years after 1776, the so-called Independence Day, when they signed this Constitution, and it's supposed to become a what? Corporation, not a nation. A corporation. Now, the ink was still wet in 1778. So from 1778 to 1798, you had some huge monumental events taking place in this country. Nevertheless, so 200 and some years later, first there was the independence. They took our land. They whooped us with the ink pen and papers, guns and cannons. 200 and some years later, I'm telling y'all, the changes that's getting ready to take place in this country and around the world, in all countries, is going to spark major revolutions and major wars and major humanitarian crises. That's why a lot of y'all are becoming humanitarians, teachers, and healers. If you're not already, I guarantee you, some of y'all will be endowed with these here energies by spirit. And when this takes place, you will know exactly what it all means. So there's 1% of us on the planet that's going to have to keep the energy balanced and positive, doing this stretch of about 20 years starting next year around November the 19th. Okay. So right after the election, Pluto is going to go right back. It's going to be in Capricorn, but it's going to go right back into Aquarius after November the 19th of next year, after the election. And it's going to sit there until 2043. There's a 7-year grace period of a cycle, the final cycle. And at 2050, if you don't know what these folks got planned, stick around. I'll keep you informed. We'll come back here in a second and we'll do this video, leaving the scene. It's a channel dream message. Now, Sunday, I'll be there, but Sunday at the hospital, someone emailed me yesterday, and I guess just out of concern, and I had mentioned about what the person said in the email, the two individuals actually, and was like, Ivory, it would be nice if we can send Pops his flowers while he's still with us. That's why I titled the video that. So while Pops is still with us, thanks to those, who has already contributed to Pops flowers for this weekend while he's here. Odisha. Wow, that was generous. Odisha, Lillette, twice. Thank you, Lillette. Janet, and Parsa Dispatch. I appreciate y'all. So we'll add that to his flowers. And so I'll have a couple photos that I'll share with y'all of Pops and you'll see his progress from the time that he got to the ER, to ICU, to PCU, back to ICU, and then in his regular room now, and then with his flowers on Sunday. So Sunday night, 9 o'clock, I'll give y'all another update. But if you would like to contribute, whatever, we're just going to go get a big bouquet of flowers and take them up there and put them on side of the bed. And I had a Soul Tribe name on it. And for those that give me permission, I'll print your name on there if you want me to, on the card. And we'll leave those there in his room for him while he's still with us. Because let me tell y'all something. If that was me in my dad's position, I don't know. And what's so amazing, none of the doctors, me, nobody, everybody that has asked him, is he in pain? He says, no, I'm not hurting. You got double pneumonia in both lungs, failed kidneys, liver, enlarged prostate, colon, and the bladder. He said he ain't in no pain. He's 85. That's a miracle. But the lab work, remember now, was the results of the lab work for a coroner doing an autopsy. Amazing. Simply amazing. So we'll go ahead and get out of here, and we'll come right back here in a little bit here. And leaving the scene. Somebody was leaving the scene in a dream. I know who it was, and I know why. We'll see what comes out. All right. Peace and blessings to everybody. The Cash App information is there in the description box of the video if you would like to contribute one way or another. We're going to get this man these beautiful flowers coming up this weekend. Yeah. So I'm excited. Appreciate everybody for your prayers, your thoughts, your kind words, all of that. He felt all of that. Look, he even felt all of that. All right. All right. So we'll see y'all in a little bit. Peace. Thanks for everybody stopping by. Ivory.